Political reporter Jessica Arp is back with us this afternoon.
She's been covering the recall and how it all began back in the snowy days of winter. And today she spent some time with the governor. Jessica?
Well, yeah, we did spend part of the noon hour with the governor in his office today discussing what happened last night and where the state will be heading in the coming months. There were some common themes. He says voters are tired of negative campaigning and politicians under the dome must start working together.
Does anybody win here? Does anybody claim victory after last night?
I mean, I think the only winner after last night is the voters in the sense that the elections are over. I think that's the biggest relief, is that people had it with the elections. I think people, in the end, while there's a lot of passion on either side of it, most voters were just happy to have it done. They're happy to move forward. I think we can all win if we find a way to use this experience to work together, to find issues where we can agree, particularly when it comes to the economy. If we do that, we'll all win.
What do you think the results mean from last night to your future? Do you believe you will be recalled, whether it's this fall, winter, or even into next year?
Hard to tell. I mean, you never know. I mean, none of this has been very predictable. But I think two things. One, I think most people I've heard from, I was just at the fair last night, they were saying this, other people have said it for weeks, they're just happy the elections are going to be over. I think there's probably a pretty strong sentiment that people don't want to see another round of literally tens of millions of dollars dumped into Wisconsin. The other part is it really boils down to what we do post-elections. If we continue to stay focused on jobs, if we continue to go down the path of what I promised when I first ran, of helping the state create 250,000 jobs, and if in doing that, we reach out and bring both parties together, at least as many as possible together to work on this, I think most voters are going to say, you know what, that's what we want you to do. We want to get your attention, we want you to focus on working together, but we also want you to work on creating jobs.
When you look at the folks who voted yesterday, many of them have been angry for months about what happened. Many public workers, teachers, folks out there. And you talk about bipartisanship. How do you reach out to those voters at this point? I mean, you talk about lawmakers working together, but is there any way, do you feel, to engender yourself back to these people who are still clearly, by the turnout yesterday, very fired up about this issue?
I think the biggest key will be, and it is in other things in life as well, your actions have to speak louder than your words. And so certainly we talk about wanting to bring people together, talk about moving the state forward, but I think the best way we can do it is showing it. So I mentioned before, we've been doing it for months on education reform with Tony Evers in a very transparent, very collaborative way. I think as we tackle other issues, starting off with all four legislative leaders, bringing the four of them in, even something as simple as the last month, my office has reached out to every lawmaker, about 70, well, a little more than 70 of them took advantage of it, and a significant number of Democrats were part of that mix, where we met with them and said, what would you like to do in the future? What should we be working on next? If we start showing we can work together and get things done, I think that'll help anybody, no matter what their background, no matter whether they were for or against a given candidate. I think the more people see us, not just talking about working together, but actually doing things that end up doing that, the better off we'll be.
Now, the governor, in talking about where there are areas there could be compromise, does say he will make education reform a priority, as well as saying he wants to move forward on venture capital legislation that he believes can help create jobs.
And Charles, the governor says he wants lawmakers to work together. Is that possible, taking into account what's happened up to this point?
I think it's going to be very difficult, maybe not completely impossible, in the sense that in focusing on a jobs agenda, for example, if we go back to January, the period of January to February, but before this all exploded in February, in a number of the job stimulus measures the governor put forward, there were a handful of Democrats that did cross over and vote on those. It wasn't massive bipartisanship, but there was some there. So I think if he shifts the focus back to these less divisive issues, some crossover votes might be possible. Part of the issue will be, what's the agenda for the fall? Is it social issues that are pretty divisive, or is it jobs and perhaps education reform?
And Jessica, you're at the Capitol every day.
Yeah, I mean, if there's only a one-vote margin, if these two Democrats manage to keep their seats, you're going to see Senator Dale Schultz, who's been crossing over along with Senator Tim Cullen from the Janesville area. They've both been expressing a strong willingness to want to really work together on things if they can find some common ground. And if everyone else will go along with that, we might be able to see some compromise, but a 1-vote margin may force some of that to happen. Although I think everybody wants there to be larger margins than that if they find agreement.
So it's a big influence from, big result from last night if it's just that 1-vote difference.
That's right.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys. You two need to take this show on the road. Let's go. We appreciate it. It's been a long night for you both, so thank you.